Hello everyone, my name is Robin and we're going to do a pick a pile reading for the question, what is your next area of spiritual growth? So we have three piles here, and in each reading I might draw from this mini deck. It's a Nicoletta Ciccoli, I think that's how you pronounce it, deck. But this is going to be kind of like a supplemental deck for some of them, maybe not all of them. So whichever deck you choose, that will be your reading. So I'll give you some time to choose now for what will be your next area of spiritual growth. All right, so I have shuffled the piles off screen, but I will shuffle again on screen just to show you. So for pile 1, let's get you a message about the next area of spiritual growth for you. Four of Pentacles reversed. Knight of Cups reversed. And Seven of Cups reversed. Let's just make sure that you can see all of the cards here. Sorry about the glare. Now, what this is seeming to tell me is that you have, maybe you've amassed some wealth or some things that you're proud of, accomplishments within traditional society. You are, you have every right to be proud of those things. However, it's keeping you, like, the identification with these things has kind of begun to keep you separate or distant from other people. Whether that is because maybe you went through a lot and you see other people maybe not working as hard as you, it seems, or maybe not achieving the same things as you in life, and that has you put a little bit off. You're like, well, I put in all the work, so maybe if you put in the work, then you could get the same things as me. Maybe some people are jealous of you, but it's leading you kind of into this toxic path of thinking that your struggles are the only struggles that exist, and kind of comparing your journey to everyone else's in a way of judging other people, potentially, of thinking, well, I did it, so why can't you? And that is really creating a barrier between you and other people, I think. It's creating this maybe condescension even people feel from you, where they don't feel like that you understand what they've been through and what their struggles look like. So this can be, there's nothing wrong with feeling accomplished, with being proud of yourself, with appreciating what you've done for yourself for the better and how that's improved your life. Those are wonderful things. The problem becomes when, that makes us isolate, whether either consciously or unconsciously to isolate, to push people away, thinking, well, I'm better than other people now because, well, my circumstances, I've improved my circumstances, so that means I've improved. Like, I'm better now because my outward self and circumstances reflect now that I'm better. And I don't see other people reaching for the same betterness, so I'm going to leave them behind, to discard them, to think that they're just lazy, and we're gonna move on and not worry about them because I've gotten what I want. And but then it's kind of like, well, all right, but maybe there's assumptions that you're making about what other people do go through, and how much they do try, or there might be hidden struggles that they have that you don't recognize, that you've never been through yourself, and so you don't think to even, you don't know to even consider that that's a thing that some people struggle with. It's just kind of like invisible to you. And if you make a lot of assumptions about people like that, and then judge them negatively based off of those assumptions, one, you don't have a clear picture of who they are, or even a clear picture of your accomplishments, of your own accomplishments. Like, you have like this, you start to develop this skewed version of the world that you see that is incomplete, that doesn't hold all of the information about how you navigate the world, and how other people navigate the world, and how those are very different things, and how if you have an incomplete picture like that, not only can it make others around you feel hurt, or like undervalued. You can lose friendships, you can lose connections, and you can start to feel lonely from kind of just devaluing everyone around you because you valued yourself so high. But also it's kind of putting yourself on a pedestal of false value, of like I said, you have every right to feel good about your accomplishments. And the moments in which you feel good about your accomplishments seem very unstable, like it's based off of outward success, based on certain societal factors or indications that you're used to, that maybe you take for granted, that's what success looks like. And so that can make your own estimation of yourself and your own worth and your own value very unstable, where if you were to suddenly lose these things that you've accumulated, if your accomplishments were to suddenly be taken away from you, maybe even of no fault of your own, shit just happens sometimes. But, if for any reason there's some kind of like fluctuation in the outward success that you're seeing yourself achieve, that can cause a lot of damage to your self-image. And then you kind of spiral into this, well, what am I worth really? And then feeling really bad about yourself, maybe making some poor life decisions in that state. And it's not a fun place to be. So there's also these like dogs here, this like kind of, maybe there's an anxiety about, maybe how, maybe some part of you deep down knows how insecure it is, and still, even so, You feel hypervigilant about guarding the things that you've amassed. You feel hypervigilant about, I know that it's unstable. That's why I work so hard. And it's like, maybe it's not even that maybe it's not that you even had every privilege, that ever existed. Maybe you were disadvantaged in some ways, and that's part of why you're proud of what you've been able to do despite that. But there's still this like, maybe even because you have faced adversity in the past, you know what it looks like to be struggling, and you have that picture of what it looked like when you were struggling. Maybe also tainting what you think struggling at all for anyone looks like. So again, it's like taking a snapshot of your situation and then copy pasting it onto everyone else and saying, well, if it's not exactly like that, then I don't understand it. Pushing people away. But then it also creates this anxiety, this desire to guard against anything, any worldview, any person, any perceived judgment from the outside, perceived anything that might threaten your newfound security in your accomplishments or accolades or anything that you've amassed. You are kind of viciously guarding. What is the word that I'm looking for? Almost viciously protective, there we go, of what you have created for yourself in life. And that viciousness is part of the discarding of other people, but also it's also toward yourself. That cruelty almost of if I don't continue to maintain this level of productivity, of this level of success, of this level of achievement, then I have failed, and then I'm no longer safe, I'm no longer secure, I'm no longer worthy. And that can create a lot of anxiety and tension within you that I think that in this reading it's kind of calling you to address, to figure out, why do I act this way? And is it really, offering me the security that I so desire? And are there other ways to attain it? Are there ways that I can achieve security and also remain connected with other people that have different experiences? Are there ways that I can appreciate myself without putting other people down? Things like that. So this reversed Knight of Cups, it also seems to, whenever there's, like I said, this fluctuation in the security of what you've gathered for yourself, or achieved for yourself, there's this rush of I have to bring myself back up from that low. I have to very quickly I'm not allowed to be vulnerable. I'm not allowed to, and it's yourself that's not allowing you, right? Although you may tell yourself that it's your boss, it's your mom, it's your dad, it's your friends, it's your coworkers, you may tell yourself that it's other people that's telling you, it's society, it's your network of people that can help you climb the career ladder. You're telling yourself that it's those people that are never going to accept you whenever you're vulnerable and human, and whenever you struggle or have bad days or have a lot of mental instability, or you just want to rest, honestly. You want to be able to feel your feelings rather than always living in the future and thinking so hard about, how do I secure my safety in the future. You're not allowing yourself to live in the now, and that kind of hurts. And so you feel this 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 void of stable self-worth, and this fear, you ease or soothe that fear that makes you hyper vigilant with things that you can buy, like, food, drinks, new toys, whatever those toys look like for you, new new tech products, new, I don't know, house decorations, like anything that you particularly feel like, this is how I unwind. This is how I purge my emotions, is by, maybe you go out and you drink and dance, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with any of these things, really. It's just, moderation. But whenever you're kind of in that, like, I need to soothe my anxiety and my concern about my self-worth and about the temporariness or the insecurity of what I have, whenever you're in that state, that low, leads you to quickly lose moderation and to kind of go overboard to reassure yourself, and it actually kind of feeds this cycle a little bit of the, well, I made a mistake, or maybe you feel like, oh no, I let myself down, or I let someone else down, I let my boss down, or like, there's this kind of cycle of, like, in order to soothe your emotions, you do something rash, or driven by fear, and you go overboard, and then that also makes you more anxious about what, is it going to threaten my, is it going to threaten what I have? If you embarrass yourself in front of your coworker or your boss, but maybe you don't know how to create good boundaries between professional relationships and private relationships, perhaps that leads you to maybe overshare with professional relationships, or maybe that leads you to maybe to ignore private relationships, or to kind of treat them as treat a committed relationship as optional, of like, well, I don't really want to, like, deal with having a relationship with you today. Yeah, like, everybody needs their alone time, but at the very minimum, if you're, like, in a committed sort of, like, long-term relationship, the bare minimum is, like, communicate what you're going through. Whereas, in this acting rash state, you might not communicate to a partner what you're feeling. You might not be able to, like, really access what you're feeling because you're so filled with fear and anxiety about this thing that you think is essential to your well-being. So you just, like, rush to do something that's going to distract you. Do something that's going to put your mind at ease, even just for a few hours. Maybe you go on a bender and then you wake up hungover, and then that prompts you to sort of take care of yourself, to tell yourself that you're practicing self-care by soothing a hangover. Something like that, where it just kind of creates this cycle of like, okay, so I'm soothing a hangover. I feel somewhat like I'm taking care of myself in that moment. But, I'm worried that my boss at work is going to notice that I'm hungover, and they're going to, like, ask all these questions about, like, you got really wild at that thing last night, didn't you? Or, and then, oh no, so I feel bad. So I feel like I've failed someone. I failed myself. I failed my boss. I'm at risk again of losing everything. So then I go and I have to do more and more things to feel okay again, just to keep going on to the next day. And what the Seven of Cups reversed is saying here is there's, like, a desperate need for you to kind of move away from the attitude of, well, I can sleep when I'm dead. I can that it is possible for you to just endlessly be productive, that there is nothing that you can't fix with money, because that's not true. If you burn yourself out real hard and you destroy your body trying to work 5 jobs at once, you're going to destroy your body, you're going to destroy your mental health, and then all of the wealth that you've accumulated is going to be, is going to go toward paying your medical bills and your therapists and your rent while you're out of work. And then you'll be back to square one. So which is what you fear, and that's kind of like that's a self-abandonment cycle where you do this that I've described so much until something breaks and something is like, okay, that's the last straw, because this attitude is unsustainable. And then you are like, oh, well, great. Now I'm out of job. Now I have to, like, in a very striking way, I have to see that I've burned myself out. I've spent too much money. I've been a bit too wild. I need a lot of therapy to make up for what I just did to myself here. Or the relationships that I got into in the meantime that were really toxic for me. And you feel even worse. That then, feeling that bad again reinforces, like, okay, I feel this bad again, so I need to work even harder to achieve security next time. So, like, it's all of it is really an unfulfilling and unsustainable cycle for you. And the Seven of Cups reversed, it kind of like, the reason I talked about productivity and kind of like burning yourself out is because it has all these it's at a cafe, right? And it's like, okay, so how many coffees do you have to drink a day in order to maintain the productivity level that you're putting out there that you can do? How many stimulants do you need to get through the day? I mean, I need coffee. I like coffee. No judgment for liking coffee, and like, I've got ADHD, so like I do definitely benefit from what caffeine gives me. But I'm not only talking about caffeine here, is the point. It's just kind of a metaphor. I'm talking about, like, what do you put yourself through in order to tell yourself that you can keep doing this and that you're successful and that you never have any vulnerabilities, or that you can kind of live ignoring them and continue to amass fame and wealth and high standing and professional accolades. What do you put yourself through in order to get there? And what are you feeling is your end goal here? Because the Seven of Cups reversed, it kind of tells me, like, this whole process in itself, other than, like, you say that, like, security is your end goal, but then within this cycle, if you were to really look at what's going on, you're not achieving security. You're not. So then what is actually your end goal? And this kind of, like, getting trapped in a cycle like this, and then being able to realize, I'm saying that I'm putting myself through all of this so that I can get security, but that's not actually happening. But I keep doing it. That's an indication that there's something disordered there. You could have trauma about living in poverty. You could have trauma about or you can have all these expectations put on you by other people that you've had to live through, and from your, childhood or from previous past bad experiences. It doesn't have to necessarily be a childhood. Trauma can happen at any time in life, or just bad experiences can happen at any time in life. But what experiences in your life have taught you that you have to act this way to survive? And if you know that it's not working, why do you continue to do it? Feeling some of the feelings that you're distracting from, or that you're trying to convince yourself that you never have to be vulnerable, don't push those feelings away. Don't fear vulnerability, with yourself at the very least. And if it's difficult to get in touch with your emotions at the time being, then maybe getting some therapy, not like, don't get like 5 therapists at once, just because you can, or you think you can. Healing takes time. So just like, with all things, like I said here, moderation. Moderation and consistently making good choices for yourself that are actually sustainable, rather than just a haphazard and frantic desire to keep yourself just going to the next day, just to survive, just a bare minimum, I just got to keep going. So maybe with some, just like taking some time with these emotions and actually feeling them, actually figuring out what is it that I'm really trying to do, because usually these kind of like irrational patterns that we put ourselves into are based off of some kind of like deep feeling that it's under the surface, and it's like a highly motivating core influencing thing that you've gone through. But it can take a very long, well, not long, it can take some like some careful digging and some specialized knowledge to actually get there with the, I'm sorry, there's like this little fruit fly and it's really bothering me. Okay, sorry about that. But it can take some like specialized knowledge to be able to kind of help you to get there emotionally, and to get there and then come back, and to get there and then come back again, and to build that trust with yourself that you can have the capacity to feel your feelings without being overwhelmed, and that you can trust yourself to feel them, and then and then come back to a neutral state and still be okay, and still be calm, stable. Therapists are trained to do that, like to only get to the underlying emotion that is within reach at the time, for you, so that they can help you to get there, to make a realization, and then they walk you back up to like feeling good, feeling okay before you leave. So maybe that's something that's interesting, and also like getting other perspectives of what's possible for you in life, from therapists, from friends, don't push away your friends, but from just a guiding hand that can kind of open up the possibilities that you see in the world, and to say, if this is unsustainable, then what else can you imagine is out there that maybe you can start making little steps at a time towards something that you can actually continue to do over time without burning out, or without creating like self-sabotage or self-abandonment. So that, I think, is the main message here, but I can draw maybe 1 or 2 more cards from here for some final thoughts. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this coming out here, this is the Two of Swords, but since it came over here, I'm going to treat these as like clarification on these things, or like a final word or something more to say. This is like, you're really walking on a tightrope here. You're really putting yourself in this, like, even in the attempt to avoid emotional vulnerability, you're creating more of it. Because of these areas that you don't want to look at how you actually feel and the messages that you tell yourself every day and what your internal monologue looks like. What and where those messages from your internal monologue actually come from, and do you really believe the things that you tell yourself all the time? Do you hold yourself to absolutely unreasonable standards? Do you always feel like you're going from one precarious situation to the next? Because that's honestly, that's no way to live. So finding ways that you don't have to do this anymore is probably for the best. Five of Pentacles, yeah. Five of Pentacles, like, Five of Pentacles usually is about material lack. So again, it can again reflect that, like, either fear of poverty, wanting to, or feeling shame. Five of Pentacles can sometimes talk about feeling shame about how you feel you have to live your life to survive. Sometimes maybe if you get into cycles of acting rashly or acting in ways that ultimately self-sabotage or harm you, it can end up feeling like you've betrayed yourself. You know, you can feel kind of shame about that and feel like, I wish that I hadn't done that, and I wish that I felt okay. Like, I wish that I felt like I was strong enough to do without this thing. I wish that I could escape this circumstance that I feel like I'm trapped in. But mostly I think that this is just like thinking, is this really all that there is? You know, this cycle of, even if you have a lot of material wealth, even if you have professional respect, even if you have, you know, even if you're able to afford fancy vacations or fancy things, there's still this, like, this inner part of you that is like, is this all that there is? And why don't I feel connection, and why don't I feel meaning? This can be, you know, Five of Pentacles can not only be a material poverty, but also, like, or a fear of material poverty, but also a spiritual poverty about, like, I don't know where I'm going in life. I just keep doing the motions because I feel that I'm used to it. But it doesn't satisfy me. It doesn't give me purpose. It doesn't make me feel like I have more worth in my own eyes. And everything just kind of feels like the self-abandonment and the tenuous life circumstances of moving from one chaotic situation to the next. So for this, I believe this is the Page of Wands. So this is a very different kind of like page of wands that I'm seeing. Um, it kind of has a dreary look to it, or or like it's the or like what it shows is kind of like a more difficult manifestation of the page of wands. Maybe this is someone who wants and needs to feel inspired by life, but currently is having trouble feeling that, is having trouble finding reasons to keep going with this struggle, especially since the struggle is so hard and so pervasive. Um, Maybe this is someone who is lacking a spiritual connection, and yet kind of like desperately wants it, or at least wants to be connected to life in a way that doesn't feel alive in this cycle. And whenever I drew this card and looked at it, I instantly thought of the song Miss Murder. Like, hey, Miss Murder, can I make beauty stay if I take my life? Whoa. So that, it's a, I like that song. It's a, like it's goth, it's sad, it's emo. And I feel drawn to songs like that because I've gone through really difficult things in my life, and even though I'm not in that like deeply troubled mental health place as before, I still sometimes enjoy songs like that because it reminds me how I used to feel, and that it's okay to still go to those dark places again sometimes. It's okay to kind of look back and dip the toe in and go, oh yeah, I remember what that dark feeling felt like. And it's okay to find beauty in those things as well. Um, but yeah, I wonder if either you are, if first of all, if you are experiencing suicidal ideation, please reach out. If you're feeling like, I don't know if I can keep going with this, if I don't know if any of this is worth it. I don't know if there's any other option for me, and I don't know if I want to continue living, essentially. If you feel like that, please reach out to someone, like I said, a therapist, or there's there's suicide hotlines that are in any country, I believe, almost any country. In the United States, it's the National Suicide Advice Line, or it's like National Suicide Health Line, something like that. I'll try to link it. But there's also, if you're struggling with anything related to being transgender or queer, there's the Trans Lifeline, there's the Trevor Project. But yeah, if you're feeling really, really down, or like you don't know where the meaning in life is, and it's definitely worthwhile to get another perspective, to find people that will understand what you're going through and will be able to help you navigate your way through it and out of it, to find something even better. So there is that spark of inspiration. There's that inspiration inside of you. It's part of what drives you to keep achieving, but it's just hidden under so much like fear and stress that it's feeling kind of suffocated right now. So you can revitalize this part of you, this very creative, this very passionate, this very driven part of you that connects to a higher meaning, whether it's spiritual or not, even if it's just like a, you know, even if it's just like a holistically, I'd like to improve the world somehow. You know, you have that connection to something greater than just yourself. Or if you don't feel it right now, you do have the capacity to get that back or to feel that again, or to feel it, you know, in the future. But it's okay to show people that you're sad. It's okay to show people that you're struggling. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, or it's a, ooh, did you hear that thunder? My goodness, it like spooked me and I shook in my seat. I jumped. It's okay to find solace in private moments with yourself, and it's okay to find beauty in the difficult times of life. You don't need to constantly live there. You don't need to constantly live in a survival state. And you don't have to be happy all the time. You know, everything is temporary, but you can find little moments of joy and inspiration that live outside of this framework that you've created for yourself. Let me think for just a second. I have hope for you. I think that you have the means and you have the ability to seek help, seek advice. I think you have the stick-to-itiveness to be able to, you know, you have the perseverance to be able to get through a lot, and it's served you before in keeping you alive, and that's wonderful. And there's more to life than just surviving. You know, you want to find those beautiful moments. You want to find that inspiration, that just holistic living of loving every moment of your life, of wanting to grasp life by the roots and smell the flowers like she's doing here. Even if it is dark sometimes, there are still ways that you can thrive in the sensory like the sensory experience of living, the emotional experience of living, and getting a stable, sustainable life is not just about like wealth or physical security. It's also about emotional stability. It's also about mental stability, and allowing yourself to follow joys, or just little joys, or little moments of beauty, little moments of things that just raise you up and make you feel like, I'm so glad that I was able to see that today. I'm so glad that I was able to make that today. I'm so glad that I was able to find this secret thing and cherish it. And I believe that you can find those things. It just may take, you know, someone holding a roadmap for you. All right, pile one. Well, thank you so much for your time today with this reading. I hope that this was helpful to you. Like I said, if you're feeling, if you're feeling like you need to reach out to a helpline, I definitely encourage you to do so. If you feel like you need to reach out to a friend or someone that you can trust, definitely encourage you to do so. Take care of yourself. If anything in this message, if you take anything from this message, take care of yourself. Allow yourself to be whole and safe and protected by yourself, in and of yourself. So just be gentle with you. You're going through a lot. Okay? Well, thank you so much, and I'm going to leave it there for now, and we're going to go on to other readings. So thank you so much. Welcome, Pile 2. This is for your reading for what is your next area of spiritual development. And we'll just get started by shuffling a bit, even though I did shuffle off camera. And it is a new day. It is the morning after the previous recording because I got really tired after Pile 1. It was very late, so that was on me. Alright, so what is Pile 2's next area of spiritual development going to be? Okay. No, 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 no. That's too many. This flew out of the deck at me. It's interesting because the Seven of Cups came up in Pile 1 in the third card as well, although it was reversed. Okay, I guess you get 4 cards this time. So, what is Pile 2's next area of spiritual development? Ooh, 3 of Swords, the 6 of Pentacles, the 7 of Cups that came out before, and the 4 of Wands. So there's been some kind of disappointment, some kind of betrayal or deep pain for you, Pile 2, either recently or in the near past. And this has dashed your dreams a little bit. It looks like this has made you worried about possibly about where your next paycheck is going to come from, possibly about where some of the other things that you need are going to come from. If it's not about losing a job, you know, it could be about losing a friend, it could be about losing a partner, and there are certain things that you started to to rely on in your life that are no longer there. Um, and it seems like this is trying to tell you that there will be enough, even if something is missing, even if even if you're going through um, even if you're going through something really difficult and your your concerns are legitimate, um, and there may be less than you've come to expect, but with the help of others, that are there to support you, to bring you up whenever you're feeling down or whenever you're in a low state, whenever you're struggling. There are people out there that can help you. Um, and you will have enough to get by. You won't be in dire straits. Now, Seven of Cups and then the Four of Wands. I feel like this is honestly, I'm picking up that this is housing related. Like this is housing worries. Like maybe you lost a job and you're worried about losing your place that you live, and you're wondering if you're going to be homeless or something. And it's like your spiritual learning is how much support out there actually is for you. And yes, we live in a society that is unjust in many times, and yes, there are legitimate struggles and legitimate things that that disadvantage people, and yes, housing is a very big stress point for a lot of us, and making enough to pay rent is sometimes very difficult. And this seems to be saying that there are people that you can trust with telling about the situation that you're going through. You don't have to feel shame about it. These are larger things in the world than just it's not reflecting your personal successes and failures. It's not reflecting your personal worth. This isn't a punishment by the universe or anything. This isn't, the universe isn't out there to punish you, first of all. And you experiencing this right now, this is just part of a larger societal system that leaves people behind and lets people fall through the cracks that deserved to be taken care of and deserve help and assistance. And this is saying that even if something fell through, even if someone that you expected, or maybe a government program that you expected to take care of you, or even if you thought that your needs were going to be met and then they weren't, that, like I said, it may not be the same, it may not be everything, but it will be something, and it will be enough that you can find if you reach out for help in the right directions with friends that you trust. That you maybe, if you've been feeling shame about the situation, you've maybe been hiding parts of the situation from your friends or from your loved ones, from your family, and whether that's your biological family or your chosen family, it doesn't really matter. But you've been hiding it from maybe people that could help you, if they understood the severity of the issue that you're going through, if they understood, the full scale of what's been going on in your life and how much you've been struggling. So this is really encouraging you to tell other people what you're going through, to ask for assistance, and lots of people. Oh, I'm gonna have to pause the video because that car alarm started going off again. Hold on. We'll resume this later. All right, pile two, welcome back. The car alarm has not been going off for a little while, so hopefully it won't start up again. um, so to resume what we were saying here, um, there are going to be people that are willing to help with whatever you're going through, that will understand, that won't judge you, and that it will be easy for them to help you. You know, sometimes whenever we are struggling, we start to convince ourselves that we're a burden, or that everybody will be, judgmental. Everybody will be put off by how we need help. They not only won't understand, but they will judge us harshly, and that we're just asking something absolutely unreasonable from them to help us. And often, what I've found from experience when I've been in situations like that is that that's just not the case. You know, some people have more resources than others, some people have different resources than others, and some ways of assisting are easier for others than, than we imagine. And I had a situation with a friend where, like, for 2 years, my car had a problem. It was still drivable, but it was like kind of, it was both very annoying and also a little bit dangerous. But I just didn't have the money to fix it, for 2 years, and it made me very picky about when I used my car, and when what events I would go to with friends, when I would choose to, risk using my car to go somewhere. I wanted to make sure that it was necessary. And my friend pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Robin, I really miss you at these events, and I really want you to be able to come." And it's, my friend was like, I have familial, or like, I have generational wealth. I'd really like to help you fix your car. And money is not really a thing for me. It's like, it is something that, they said that they do have to budget and whatever, but that money is easy for them. It comes easy to them, and they find aspects of, like, navigating, the fear of losing a friendship just because of, like, differing means. They find that kind of thing much more difficult to navigate, and that emotional fallouts with friends are also, like, more difficult to navigate. For them, the really easy thing is money. Is that, like, if it can be fixed with money, then they can fix it. So that's what they came to me and said, and I was like, I had been struggling with poverty for many years. I don't have parental support. I don't have a lot of financial means, and I had just been breaking my body and my mind and my soul to survive in a lot of ways. And I had been getting into more security, but this car situation was still a problem for me. And my friend just came and said, "Hey, I see how much you've been going through, a lot more than I have had to go through. You've been really trying, and you've been," not that they were saying, only because I was suffering that I was worthy of, no, nothing like that. They're not like that. They were just like, "Hey, I see an opportunity where I can make this struggle easier for you, and I want to do it. And it is simple for me. It's not complicated, and it's not going to put me out." And I was so grateful, but also, like, just astounded that there are people with wealth like that, that they can just, that the money part is easy. Because for me, the money part was not easy. So the reason I bring this part up, the reason I bring this up, this personal story, is that it shows how your struggles and what you're going through that seem just insurmountable for you, that seem like the hardest thing in the world, and it is to you, for other people, sometimes they're like, oh no, that's really easy for me. To get another example is like, maybe you went through a breakup and you are just devastated, or maybe you had a falling out with family and you're devastated, and maybe you had, you know, a roommate situation that blew up, and you know, you're facing housing insecurity. If you are needing like an emotional shoulder to cry on, and you're thinking, no, I can't burden other people with my emotional baggage, you know, to some people, listening to other people's emotional struggles, that is easy. That's easy for some people. And they don't see it as a burden. They want to be able to create that space for you to feel all of your feelings, for you to vent, for you to you know, come to some kind of understanding about what you're feeling. Or in the situation of like housing, maybe you know, not everybody has like an extra room. Some people do. You know, and they can be like, hey, you can sleep in my extra room, or hey, you can crash on my couch, or hey, you know, if you're facing housing insecurity, you know, but you have a car, then hey, you can park your car in my driveway or in my apartment complex. I'll give you the code so that you can get in, and you know, and you can park somewhere safe where you're not going to be bothered, and you can, you know, even if they can't give you everything that you had before, they can give you something. They can give you something that is easy for them, that doesn't break their own boundaries, something that is like, oh yeah, no, that's like, without a second thought, they'll just give it. And it's generous of them, of course, but it's also, you know, it's not burdensome for them. You know, any little thing. Or God, in a situation where like I had a friend who was homeless for a while, and did have to live on the street. And maybe somebody had a, you know, if somebody was in a situation like that again, maybe somebody that you know has a tent. If you're able to pitch a tent in your city or your state, you know, legally or whatever. Or maybe somebody is like, hey, I don't have any resources myself, but I know someone else who does, and I can get you in contact with them. That's actually what happened to me whenever I left my parents' house. Is my friends came and got me. They brought me from Houston to Austin, and I didn't have anywhere to stay, you know, because I was leaving everything just to get out of a bad situation. And my friends networked with someone else who was trustworthy and, you know, in community, and that person let me stay in their spare room and on their spare air mattress for months, until I could get a, you know, until I could get a job, until I could get more on my feet. And that was just an amazing experience, and I still to this day am grateful for that. So you're getting a lot of my personal things because I've been through a lot. And I've seen firsthand the generosity of people and the deep care of community that you can find if you reach out a little bit. And I have been through the struggle of like, you know, am I worthy of receiving this help? And whereas I know that it's very difficult to convince oneself that yes, indeed, you are worthy of that help. I know that it's not just an instant, like, I convinced myself now I don't have to worry about it anymore. You know, that's not how super deeply ingrained beliefs work. But if you take little bits of help at a time, and you see that it's going well, and you see that, you know, people aren't treating you badly, people aren't judging you, and you are getting something that really helps, that fills a need that that you have, you know, if you see little bits at a time that this is okay to receive help and you're safe receiving help, then you start to believe it over time with the evidence in front of you that, like, oh, I guess this is okay. I guess I am worthy of receiving this help. I guess I am not a burden. I guess my friends really and my community really does love me. And I guess they, you know, there are people out there who do want to help people like me. And there are solutions out there that I can find. You know, even like I know a lot of queer and trans people who, because of certain, sorry about all the noises, notification noises, but I know a lot of people who have to crowdfund things, like gender confirmation, healthcare, that have to crowdfund getting, like in my situation, have to get out of an unlivable or abusive situation and need some like starting money to get away. You know, crowdfunding has become, unfortunately, even though crowdfunding is a wonderful indication of how people can come together individually to help others out, and it's a beautiful thing, and I hope that anyone who has to crowdfund something, I hope that they get everything that they need. It's unfortunately a symptom of our government not providing for people. Anytime that someone has to reach out, you know, anytime somebody has to reach out for crowdfunding for a basic survival need, that is a failure of our government to care for its people. And it's not a reflection on you or on that person who has to do crowdfunding. It is, they should just by being alive, they should be taken care of. People should be taken care of for their basic human needs and human rights. That's supposed to be what a government does. And unfortunately, in most, you know, governments today, that's just not done. Especially in the United States, that's just not done. You know, more money goes to military spending than to social programs, and it's disgusting to me, and I'm going to move on. The point is that it's okay to ask for help, and there will be people out there who help you. It's not a reflection on you to need something that wasn't easy to obtain, that you lost. You know, there are people that can step in and help you have your basic human needs at the very least. There's this like wondering of, you know, how is this gonna go? Like kind of, I've kind of been using like this Seven of Cups and this Four of Wands, kind of the messages of these in talking about these previous cards and kind of building the bigger situation. But this is kind of like, you know, what's going to happen to me? It's kind of a roulette of, you know, anything could happen at this point. I'm not quite sure. And then also, since this has kind of like a hopeful spin on it, I think, in this reading, as opposed to pile number one, this like hopeful, what if I can have these things? You know, what if I can have the things that people are offering me to help out? And then that opens up this new world of like, wow, the gifts of the world, the way that the universe comes to assist you whenever you're not expecting it, whenever humanity comes to assist you whenever you're not expecting it, or whenever you've been led to believe that it will never happen that way. It can be a beautiful, wonderful feeling, you know, this feeling of deep gratitude and I'm definitely not one of the people that, like, you know, I definitely don't overly focus on be grateful for absolutely everything that you have, even if you're struggling, because it feels like whenever people do that or say to only be positive or only be grateful, it feels like a spiritual bypassing. Because sometimes, there are very legitimate pains and struggles that people go through. And to say, well, just don't think about it, which is essentially what like focus on gratitude sometimes amounts to saying, that's really hurtful, and that's really it's kind of naive, and it's kind of callous. If somebody can just, not have pain anymore by just, oh, well, I'm just focusing on gratitude and all my pains and all my stressors are gone, geez, everybody would be doing it. So that's not the vein that I want to say this in. That's not what I mean. It's just like I've had situations where I have thought that I didn't have any options. And then someone, out of the gracious kindness of their being, offered me an option that I didn't previously see. And I was just overcome with emotion. I was overcome with gratitude, with like, I thought that I didn't deserve this thing that you're offering me, and yet you're offering it to me, and I feel like, wow, like I feel awed, and I feel there's this like relief, and there's this joy all mixed in with this sadness of grief, of realizing that you do deserve this after all, coexisting that feeling of, oh, I do deserve this after all, and it is okay for me to have this, coexisting with the grief of, I didn't have this before, and that hurts. Those things can often happen at the same time. When we come to a realization of what we're actually worth, and we start loving ourselves, and we start accepting ourselves for who we are, then we look back at our past selves and our past struggles, and we think, wow, not only was I really going through a lot, but I also I beat myself up. I told myself that I was shit. I told myself that I wasn't worthy, and I didn't have to do that. And also, it is such a shame that communities and that governments, and social programs and whatever that should have been there for me, family that should have been there for me, friends that should have been there for me, partners that should have been there for me, weren't. And that's really a hurtful thing to come to awareness of, like, that you could have been loved so much by yourself, by the people that claimed to love you, by the people that should have been supporting you, by the systems that should have been supporting you. You deserve that love, and it wasn't there. And it is part of healing to realize this, like, it wasn't there. You deserved it, and it wasn't there. That is one of the stages of healing. To, you first have to come to awareness of a thing before you can make changes. You have to believe that you're worthy, and then you have to give yourself the grace, the kindness, the support, the care that other people previously didn't. But in the meantime, until you can start doing that for yourself, there are people that can help. There are people who want to help. There are people who it's easy to be kind to you. You are not a difficult person to love. You are not a difficult person to be kind to. That was a big thing for me as well, learning that you're not a difficult person to be kind to. Some people just don't know how to be kind. And that's not a reflection on you. That's a reflection on them. So what I'm seeing here in this spiritual growth journey here, I'm seeing that even though you've experienced some kind of betrayal, some kind of lack, there are going to be resources there for you, and it's brave of you to receive those resources. the universe wants you to receive those resources, that people are willingly giving from the love in their hearts. And if they're willingly given, please take them. Please take them. It is also loving to receive, not just to give. It is loving to give, and it is loving to receive. It's two parts of the whole of love, of care. And I see that in the future, if you are able to grow in this way spiritually, if you're able to make these changes in how you view the world and how you view yourself, and you're willing to take assistance, then there's going to be new foundations. There's going to be maybe new housing. If it was housing that was the issue, there's going to be new foundations of trust. If it was a betrayal of like a friendship or a relationship, new foundations of trust, new opportunity for self-growth. You know, this is just the building the raised beds of the garden in which you're going to grow your spiritual growth, and in which you're going to grow your stability, your well-being, learning how to celebrate your small wins, and to look at what you have and think, wow, I know that I have something to fall back on now from this experience of having reached rock bottom and then being given loving assistance. I realize now that I'm not alone, and that if I reach rock bottom again, not only will I be stronger, and not only will I trust myself and love myself more, and I won't make it harder on myself again. Not only that, but that I can trust that there are people that will be there for me. I know who my real friends are. I know who loves me. And I feel more confident going into the future that has risks, because everything does, but I feel more confident going into the future and risking betrayal or risking losses again, but it doesn't feel as dire. It feels like the possibilities are more open now, and you're able to take the losses with the gains, and you're able to be resourceful, and also to kind of, what is the phrase that I'm looking for? Kind of, you're able to be accepting of the ups and downs in your life without self-judgment. You're able to see your own resilience, and you're able to see how much you have grown. Even if it's not a lot at a time, you know, that's still growth. That's still progress. And you're starting to see it pay off, the growth that you've done spiritually, the growth that you have made over time, even when you thought that you weren't growing. And you see more happy times to come. That this is just the start of your journey, not the end. And this is just the start of something that you can continue to make more and more beautiful for yourself. I think that's it for pile 2. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this reading today. And sorry about the car noise that happened. And, you know, it's a constant battle with noises sometimes. But thank you for sticking through it. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time. Bye. up, pile 3? Welcome to your reading about what your next area of spiritual growth is. It's now a new day, in case you in case you didn't notice. I was recording pile 1 really late in the evening, and I decided to just go to bed after that. So now I'm back the next day, and we're going to get started with your reading. So I shuffled off camera, but I will shuffle some more. And what is pile 3's next area of spiritual growth? This is the Liminal Tarot, if you don't recognize it. And it has always been a really good reader for me. What is pile 3's next opportunity for spiritual growth? The Eight of Wands reversed, the Eight of Discs, and the Ace of Discs. So discs in this deck are pentacles, same thing. And what this is telling me is that you're a very dedicated person, and you have this enthusiasm and drive and creativity, and maybe you're wanting to start a personal business, maybe you really love the work that you do, or maybe you have a spiritual mission that you are working toward. All of these things, they just, whatever it is for you specifically, because this is a group reading, it just enlivens you, and you feel like you're creating entire worlds. You're creating new opportunities, you're creating new areas for people to develop ways to improve their lives. You're developing new innovative processes for your field. You're just all in, you're all engaged. And I think you do have this this dedication and this spark of passion regarding that. However, the Eight of Wands reversed is kind of saying, you know, all of this passion that you have, maybe you burn a little hot. I'm not saying like temper-wise necessarily, but you burn a little hot as far as what you expect yourself to be able to accomplish. I think you're probably a perfectionist, that you want to make the best thing that you possibly can, and so you put all of these expectations on yourself, and then you're also really motivated, so you want to achieve a lot very quickly. Maybe because in the past you have been someone who certain things come easy to you that are more difficult for other people, and so you think you've become conditioned in your mind that things in general are supposed to come easy to you, and then maybe whenever sometimes you encounter something that you've never done before, you know, that you're new to, you think, why do I suck at this? I'm not supposed to suck. And what you're not considering is that everybody sucks when they start. When they start out, everybody has to take a period of time learning. And I think you're someone that usually learns very quickly. Maybe you're neurodivergent, maybe you you know, maybe you're someone who you're able to pick up systems of ideas and kind of integrate them and what is the word? Not alchemize, synthesize. You're able to synthesize different ideas together easily, so you make connections quickly that other people don't make as easily. And so that makes you a really innovative person, like I said before, innovative. And you know, that is definitely a boon for you. That's a skill. And it's like you're buzzing and alive with this wanting to explore, and this curiosity, and this enthusiasm to get started. Like maybe you start a lot of projects that you love that feeling of like the new project. Oh yes, I'm so excited about this one thing. I can't wait to get started. And then you get started and you make like a lot of progress up front. And then when the feeling when the feeling subsides of the newness of it, you kind of put it to the side and go, well, maybe I'll finish it later. And then it sits on your shelf for months or years, or you never come back to that thing. And it's like, it's part of like, maybe your brain is just wired to always want to learn the most that it can at once. And that's why the newness of something appeals to you. But also, you know, it's that feeling of, well, it's that feeling of success, of I've just picked this up and I've learned so much. I've just picked this up and I've made this. Isn't this cool? And sometimes whenever that feeling of like, okay, I've picked it up, I've learned a lot, and then it starts to become harder because you're learning more advanced concepts, or it's starting to get harder because you're wanting to go further and you're learning and you're wanting to try new techniques, and suddenly the return of like serotonin and dopamine, the return of what you're learning starts to lessen in comparison to how much effort you have to put into it. So an example that I'm very familiar with myself is that I really like learning languages, right? And I really like learning languages. And I've got books here. I've got books like right in front of me. You can't see them, but I've got learning Norwegian, learning Japanese, learning French. In my closet, I have learning German. I have learning Arabic. I have learning Finnish. Once I picked up Duolingo and just decided, today I'm going to learn Swedish. Or today, I'm for a little while I was learning Spanish. I put it down in favor of French for the time being. And then I was, so one day I went on an ADHD rabbit hole, and I learned the Korean writing system. I learned Hangul. So I'm intimately familiar with this. I'm intimately familiar with this situation. And in languages, whenever you're first starting out, whenever you're first, I'm gonna learn this language, and you learn your first words, and you're like, oh man, this feels so cool. It's so cool. I'm learning a new language. Wow. And it's exciting. And then you start learning, how to put sentences together, and you're like, wow, I'm speaking the language. Amazing. And it feels so good. And then you start getting into like more complicated grammar and how to, like, you're getting into the tenses of things. You're getting into like direct objects. You're getting into German. You're getting into German, or you're getting into Arabic, and Arabic or with Arabic for me, it was like, it was all of the different sounds, both like consonants and vowels, that don't exist in English, and having to learn how, not only how to say them, but then also how to write them. And then the writing system, like you have to learn the writing system for Arabic, for me at least. I had to learn the writing system for Arabic in order to like notate what sounds are supposed to happen, because you know, I can't write them in English or I'm going to confuse myself. Or like Roman letters. I can't write them in Roman letters because I'm going to confuse myself, because those sounds don't exist in English. So whenever you get to the more complicated stuff, whenever you're like, I want to learn Japanese because I want to be able to understand anime without subtitles, and then you get into kanji and you're like, oh God. Oh God, kanji. And you know, whenever you first hit that first like, oh, I actually have to put in effort. It doesn't come naturally for me anymore at this point. At this point, I have to put in dedicated effort. And that's what this is showing here, that dedicated effort. I think you are someone who can put in dedicated effort, like I said before. But it's just kind of like, it's just kind of like, because you have this perfectionism that is like, well, and this habitual being used to picking things up quickly, then you think, well, I have to do this every time. Or you're so creative and excited, and you want things to be of good quality. There's a motorcycle outside. You want things to be of good quality, and so you take things very seriously, of like, I want this to be the best that I can be. And so then this perfectionism and this like self-judgment about like, why isn't it coming easy anymore? I was like, well, honey, because it's not easy. It's not like, it's just not. It's not easy for anybody at this stage. In fact, you've probably already gotten a head start, but like, because you pick things up quickly in that way, but you know, you don't realize it because your serotonin or your dopamine has run out, your internal brain reward system has run out, and now it's giving out those cookies, you know, with a less frequency than before. And so you're like, well, fuck this, I'm gonna go learn something else where I can receive more brain cookies. Like how gosh, like have you ever seen like how to train animals, like pets, to do things? First, you make the reward threshold very low, where if they even look at a thing that you want them to do, or if they even try a thing that you want them to do, you give them like treats every time at first, in order to give them that positive association of, I want to do this more. Oh my goodness, I really want to do this more. You know, and then once they start getting the basic concept of it down, you start like you start like increasing the reward threshold of like, okay, now you don't just look at the thing, or you don't just try, you have to actually, like, if you're teaching a dog how to do a high five, you're not just moving your paw like that, now you actually have to touch my hand in order to receive a treat. And it's kind of like that. There are ways that you can find a reward system that works for you and for your brain, to be able to convince it to bring it along with your desire to master a thing. You can bring it along with you by like, okay, so I know that easy part was easy. That's how it always goes. The reward threshold was low, and that's just how life is. The reward threshold The reward threshold for me at the beginnings of things, when I'm excited, it's really low. I get lots of brain treats. This metaphor, my God. I get lots of brain treats just easily. But then whenever the next stage happens, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to try a little bit more. I have to learn a little bit harder, and the treats are not as forthcoming. A lot of convincing yourself to continue is just understanding that that's part of the process, that this is happening not because there's anything wrong with you, or like that there's anything like that, oh well, I guess I don't enjoy this anymore. It's like, well, you definitely have to weigh your, like, what are your goals about a particular thing? How important is it to you? Were you only getting into that thing for the dopamine, for the serotonin, for the reward feeling? Or do you have other reasons to want to do this over an extended period of time and become better and better at it? Well, then, there is reward in the future. It's just a more long-term reward. So you can know that that's just how things are, and you can kind of convince your brain to come along with you, to work with you, by giving yourself little rewards for stages of things. Like, what have I done? I have done little goals of, if I am able to accomplish this, then I get to buy myself this thing. Or if I put in this much effort and I show consistently that I'm doing this, and it has to be tangible, realistic, time-based goals that you know specifically what you have to do within a specific amount of time, so that it is measurable. That's how you create, like in a work context, it's called SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, and time-based. So then you can, like, give yourself a reward once you've met those tangible, specific goals, and that will help with the short-term reward system that your brain loves so much. The short-term reward system, while you're making progress toward that long-term payoff. Let's pull some more cards, because this is something that I myself sometimes struggle with, as I've talked about. Oh, okay. So let's get. Okay, if those two are going to be to clarify those, then let's get one more for this first one. Ooh, okay. 14, temperance. Okay. Temperance. I think, again, it's this recognizing that to pace yourself. That even if things come easy for you at the beginning, don't use up all of your energy and motivation all at the beginning. Don't expect yourself to accomplish everything quickly. Things take time. This is a really interesting Six of Pentacles. My goodness. This deck in general, it has really like dreamlike, kind of like inner child, sometimes spooky, but like really interesting depictions of things. Excuse me. So what was I saying here? Pace yourself. Don't expect yourself to achieve everything at once. Understand that you are someone who thrives on passion, and you're someone who thrives on excitement, and try to create little bits of excitement for yourself in every stage of the process. That short-term reward system. Sometimes you have to, in order to make a thing that you're doing more long-term, you must give yourself reason to keep doing it in the short term. Otherwise, that long-term goal is not going to be enough to motivate you. Like, even if it's something that's like, even if it were like, or I'll die, I must do this or I'll die. Like, sometimes if you're neurodivergent, like, it doesn't matter what that end goal, what that end payoff of not dying is. Sometimes that's just one example. Or I'll die. It's like, well, I guess I'll die because I just can't do it. Sometimes the brain is just not here for it. And so you've got to work with your brain instead of against your brain. You've got to give yourself little treats, and if I don't have a tasty snack every few hours, I'll die. My condition worsens. Whatever that raccoon meme is. If I don't have a tasty treat every few hours, my condition worsens. Give yourself, in moderation, give yourself little rewards. Even if that little reward is just like taking 5 minutes to be like, wow, talking yourself up. Look at me. Look at what I did. Look at how far I've come. Whenever I was just starting out versus now, look at how much progress I've made. Congratulate yourself. You don't necessarily have to like buy yourself things, because that can become like, that can become expensive. Or like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a tasty treat, because maybe it doesn't need to be food or drink or like bubble tea every time. It can be just the taking 5 minutes to really feel the satisfaction and really feel the pride in yourself of, whoa, not only have I wanted to do this for so long, and I started out really strong. Not only did I start out strong, but I'm keeping going, and look at how many new words that I have learned in this language. Look at the technique, what it looked like before when I was just trying it out, and what it looks like now whenever I do it, that I'm better at it. Keep your past work so that you can compare the past against the now and see your progress. You need those tangible reminders, those tangible things that show I am achieving my goal. That's your reward system. And that's really important for you. So what Six of Pentacles is also like with these, like, if you can't see, she's dressed as a mouse, and then she's holding all these little mice by their tails, very long tails, and they're all kind of spreading out. And this reminds me of especially from an ADHD standpoint, this reminds me of all of the little interests and all of the little thoughts and all of the little things that I'm like, can I explore over here? Ooh, cheese. Ooh, that's exciting. Ooh. And kind of like holding all of the tails of these mice, and knowing that you're always going to have these mice like kind of going in different directions, and kind of going, ooh, is there cheese over there? And then this other one over here going, ooh, is there cheese over there? And that's just kind of how things are. And that's part of what makes you, again, so innovative, so well-rounded in understanding of things, because you you don't just hyper focus on one thing all the time. You kind of spread out the energy of the information that you're learning. So, but you can hold on to the tails of all these mice and go like, okay, I see that you're wanting to go over there, and that it is a very interesting place. And I agree with you that that's an interesting place, but we're doing this right now. And maybe you can barter with yourself. Maybe that can be part of your reward system of like, ooh, I really want to pick up a new language. Like, okay, I hear you. And I know that you're wanting to pick up a new language to get that short-term reward again. I hear you. You want those extra treats. But we can get that reward. We can maybe learn 5 words in a new language that's exciting if you do your French homework. If you do your French homework for the day, then you can learn 5 words in Finnish or whatever. You can learn 5 words in Zulu. You can go on a binge and try to translate the whatever. You can try to translate that. Lion King soundtrack. Once you finish your French homework, because you're focusing on French, or I don't want to learn kanji. I want to learn how to skateboard. I'm like, okay, I hear you. You want that short-term reward system. You want those treats. You can have those treats once you learn how to write these 10 kanji or whatever. Or so treat your brain and your way of learning and your internal reward system with care and with understanding and gentleness, and also help it to work with you, not against you. Whenever you have those impulses of like, but I want to learn skateboarding, and don't just say no. Don't just say no, we have to do French homework until we die. Like, no, we have to do 10 chapters of French homework. That's how it's supposed to be. And like, no, you're just killing your excitement and your soul right there. No, I'll never learn skateboarding. But barter with yourself. Say, you can learn skateboarding once you do this thing. Or like, I see that you want the reward of this new exciting thing. You can have that once you clean 2 dishes or whatever. And then you can let your brain run free like the wild child that it is and go, yay! Allow the mice to explore, the little mice in your brain to go in all the different ways. Allow them to explore. Allow them to report back to you. I found this cool thing. It tastes like cheese. What is it? I don't know. Isn't it exciting? But hold on to the tails, Don't let them go too far. Remind them that, okay, we can go over there once we have finished this. Like, okay. And then you won't have your inner brain system, your inner mice going in different directions. You won't have them rebelling against you and taking away all of your, all of your motivation. Because whenever you just tell yourself no over and over and over again, it just kind of kills your joy. So tell yourself yes, but first. Yes, but first. And then we can do that. And remind yourself that learning anything, engaging in a new project, engaging in a new skill, learning how to improve at work to get to a new state, a new position, a new responsibility, a new job, a new pay raise, whatever, whatever it is that you're going toward, that you're excited about, or whatever you long term are trying to achieve, understand that it takes time. You can't just pick everything up in 5 seconds. And it's the most wonderful thing ever that you've ever experienced because it was so exciting. You know, it's not going to happen that quickly. And I think that self-love and self-acceptance are really important parts of maintaining stable progress, maintaining stable movement. And don't weigh yourself down with, well, I should have been here by now, or, you know, I should have achieved this by now. Look at what other people are doing, and I should have gotten what they've gotten by now. That's not, you know, that's not helpful to you. And also, you don't need to judge your journey based off of somebody else. They have very different circumstances. Like, maybe their timeline of learning a thing, if you go from like timeline of learning a thing from here to here, maybe you get through this part very fast, and then you slow down a little bit, and then you get excited again, and then you go fast, and then you slow down. But maybe they go slow at first, and it just kind of maintains this like slow progress. So like they maybe started at a different point than you, or maybe their goal is slightly different, and so it looks like they're going, you know, they're here, and you're like, fast. Oh, I caught up to them. Oh my God, I'm gonna surpass them in no time. And then you slow down real fast, and then it just kind of continues like this. And it's like, why haven't I achieved? Why haven't I surpassed them yet? Why haven't I caught up to them? Oh no, they have the thing already, and I don't. You know, I'm failing. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not failing. Like, you've made so much progress. Maybe you made progress even faster than they did, but you're comparing yourself to them just because they have the thing already. It took them a much longer time than you. Or like maybe they had certain privileges that you didn't, or, you know, maybe they, instead of starting out here with where you started, maybe they started out almost here because they had more material means than you did, or they had more support, or they had more, you know, they had generational wealth, they had more societal, like they fit into the role that society decided for them, but you don't. And so you have all of this extra ways to go that they didn't have to. And maybe they, like, if you're, let's use the example of like completing a degree program. So maybe they already had parents that went to college, and then they had parents that paid for their college, and then they had the ability not to work at the same time that they were going to college. You know, they didn't have to support themselves, and then they, you know, they had a lot of time and resources that you didn't. So maybe they started out here, and then the rest was effort, yes. But then they get that degree plan, and they get that degree, and it's like you're comparing yourself against them when your starting point is very different, right? And you're like, well, I didn't have to. I mean, I didn't have that kind of financial support. I'm a first generation college student. You know, I do have to work in the middle of doing this degree plan. I did have to spread out my degree plan, and I wasn't able to do full time because I did have to work, and it was a lot of energy. Maybe I have kids. Maybe maybe I had to recover from something, like maybe I had to move out of my childhood home before I could complete a degree plan. for my safety. And so then I had to get on my feet in a major way before I could even think about higher education. So don't compare your journey to others. It's not the same thing. Maybe they are neurotypical, and the study plan, the ways that the colleges operate, they are suited toward the ways that the classes are set up, and the ways that higher education institutions are set up. They expect people to be white, male, cisgender, straight, neurotypical people that are moderately to very wealthy and just have lots of time to be able to do things and not have to worry about anything else when they're going through a higher education. So don't compare your journey to other people. Know that it's going to take time, and don't compare yourself to other people's progress. Compare yourself to your own progress. Only compare to see how far you have come. All right? Let me think for just a second. And know that you're going to get there. With steady pacing, you're going to get there. With rewarding your brain, with rewarding yourself for the effort that you put in throughout the entire process, you're going to get there. And once you have this thing that you're working toward, look back and honor all of the struggle, all of the effort that you went through. Don't just get here and go, oh, well, I achieved it, and then take it for granted, all of the effort that you put in. Oh, well, I achieved it, and I never think about how much I worked so hard to get this. No, take some time to pat yourself on the back. Give yourself more rewards, because society isn't necessarily going to give you those rewards. People aren't necessarily going to recognize how much you've done, so give it to yourself. Give yourself the time to go, I fucking rock. Okay? I fucking rock, and I'm so proud of myself. And I love myself, and I love myself at every iteration, every stage of this journey. Because the excited me got me into it. The being able to moderately, give myself rewards in the short term to be able to continue to convince myself to keep going. My innovative ways of learning, and my neurodivergences, and my ways of kind of like spreading out my interest into lots of different aspects of the thing, that just built into the wholeness of the creation that I'm making, the goal that I'm completing, and it made it more robust. And I love the part of me that was patient with myself, and I love the part of me that looks back and thinks, look how far I've come. That is such a blessing, to be able to look back and think, wow, I'm so happy that the past versions of me, that all of the past versions of me got me here today. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for this reading, Pile 3. I hope that it was relevant to you. If you resonated with it, then, that makes me super happy. If you want to take a look at other piles, it could be that there are other things for you in those piles as well. You're not restricted to just one. So if anything else appeals to you, you can look at those as well. But thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.